Hey there, Knicks fans. We are so excited to announce that Fanatics Fest is back in New York City this summer, taking over the Jacob Javits Center from Thursday, July 16th to Sunday, July 19th. You can meet your favorite athletes from every major league, including current Knicks like Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson, and Karl Anthony Towns, and the legend, my guy, Patrick Ewing. Catch live podcasts and panels featuring some of the biggest names in sports, while experiencing interactive activations from top leagues and brands. You could also grab exclusive merch and discover one-of-a-kind memorabilia from sports and entertainment, buy, sell, and trade collectibles with hundreds of top dealers, and best of all, connect with fans from around the world who share your passion for sports. Tickets are on sale now at fanaticsfest.com, and when you use that promo code KnicksFilm10 at checkout, you will get 10% off your purchase. How about that? It's an extra day of the world's #1 sports fan festival coming together under one roof, and you will not want to miss it. Oh, Jesus Christ. Getting too old for this shit, guys. Getting way too old for this shit. But this fucking team. Welcome to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show presented by Fanatics Sportsbook, where I am sitting in my basement. I think that game ended about 10 minutes ago. I take the dog for a walk, and I am still vibrating from what was the best win of the year, without question. Shout out to the Emirates, whatever, NBA Cup. Shout out to the Landry Shamet game. Shout out to Christmas. Praise baby Jeebus. Shout out to all that. Shout out to beating the Nets by 8,000 points. They all get shout outs. This is the best win of the season. It's not even close. It's the best win of the season. It is the best win of the, I will call it the Karl Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges era. And this one, man, if we're talking about the Jalen Brunson era, man, there have been some good regular season wins. There have been some good ones. There was the game where I'm not crying, you're crying, the night of Jalen Brunson's first All-Star selection. There was, Emmanuel Quickley's 38 spot at the Boston Garden. There was the JB Donovan Mitchell mano a mano duel in JB's first season down towards the end of that one. There's been some truly special ones. Truly special wins. Another win over Denver in Madison Square Garden in a memorable game, back and forth game. They were down by 13 at halftime. That one's pretty high up there. There have been so many incredible regular season wins. There were for, the first couple of years of this era. And then we didn't really get one last year. We hadn't really gotten one all due respect to the Cup and some of the other wins they've had this year. Hadn't really had a win like this in a while, and this was one of those games. I broke out the good stuff. So and there's no Ice Cube tonight. Oh no. I feel bad for tomorrow me, because tomorrow me is going to be paying for tonight's me's decisions. But listen, game like that, it warrants it. Okay, where to start? Because there's about 18 different places that we could start. And I think it would be, for as much as we are going to talk about some heroes of this game, we are going to talk about someone who was almost, I'm trying to think, the greatest villains in history. Darth Vader, he's up there. I don't know why Ursula from Little Mermaid just popped into my head. She was a pretty badass villain. Who's that? Who was the meathead with the gun in Beauty and the Beast? He was a real asshole. Gaston or something like that. Yeah, I didn't like that guy. I don't know now. Now I can only, because this is how you know I'm a girl dad. It's only I can only think of Disney movies. Mikal Bridges, he was on pace to join some of those fine folks, and he redeemed himself. And we're going to talk about all of it, but I just don't think we could start anywhere else other than what is. And I'm gonna toast to this: an in-season turnaround, an in-season comeback, an in-season reversal of personality, unlike anything that I've ever seen as a Knicks fan. Because like you think about some of the turnarounds that we've had over the years, and we've had some turnarounds. Like the We Here team was an under 500 team when they made the Derrick Rose trade, and then they went on and won 16 out of 20 games, but they made the Derrick Rose trade. The first Brunson team started out 2-13, but we weren't quite sure. Did they have the talent? Was it fitting? And then things kind of started to click into place, but we hadn't seen proof of concept before. This team made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And for as much as we have had a lot of conversations this year about how much replacing the head coach would fix things, would improve things, would, just kind of give it a different feel. I didn't, coming into this year, you didn't think that like their ethos, and this is me saying this, I didn't think this. I'm Tibbs' biggest fanboy. I didn't think that their ethos was going to go away, that they had, painstakingly cultivated over the years. And then for that 11-game stretch, it felt like they not only forgot who they were, but didn't care about who they used to be. And that was the part of it that was so painful. And it was like, guys, this is the best opportunity. This is supposed to be the best opportunity you've had to make it to this promised land. I mean, at least since in 30 years, plus 30 plus years, and maybe longer. And so to see that almost active disregard, and credit to those who stood their ground and who did not jump off the cliff. Benji Ridholtz, I'm looking at you. And it was like, look, long season, there's contributing factors to this. Teams are hitting shots against them. They're not hitting any shots. But, I was scared. I know a lot of people out there were scared. And I got to think the front office was a little scared, based on maybe some conversations that they were having behind the scenes. That is where we were. I mean, it's Wednesday, or it's almost Thursday. We were there 16 days ago. The Mavs game was 16 days ago. Think about that. Think about that, all that has transpired and the turnaround in personality and perception of what is going on that has taken place over those 16 days. And again, I don't think we've ever seen anything like it. They had so many chances during that game. Cat obviously banged up with the eye, down Deuce, down Hart, who, makes up for, he is, they could have used the Josh Hart in this game, needless to say. Talk about grabbing loose balls and securing possessions and making sure the other team doesn't get extra possessions and all those sorts of things. So they're down a couple of really important guys, and then punch after punch, like they would go up, and it's like they would go up by 4 or 5 or 6, and then all of a sudden you look up and like, how are we down by 7? And the way that this game was transpiring, it was just, you loved their effort throughout the entire thing. And yet there were things that were nagging at you like, man, really? Murray for 20 in the first quarter? We can't find a way to stop him? Come on. JB with 4 first quarter turnovers? which, by the way, you want to know how many turnovers Jalen Brunson had after the first quarter in this game? And that includes, obviously, 2 overtime periods. One turnover after the 4 in the first quarter. You want to talk about accountability? That's accountability. And then, moving into the second quarter, kind of surviving that, I'll call it the Knicks Twitter lineup with all the kids out there at once. That was just kind of sort of a disaster. And then you have the Knicks going on this big 20-4 run, and you feel like that was their best push that they had left. And then the Nuggets come right back, and they go up. And and there were so many pivotal moments in this game. But let's not forget the Nuggets at one point in the third quarter. Again, this is after the actually, sorry, this was not in the third quarter. This was after the big run. The Nuggets went up. Hold on, I'm losing it now. No, sorry, I'm misspeaking left and right. It was in the third quarter. The Knicks made their push, the Nuggets pushed back, and then you had this sequence where you had a big OG Anunoby 3, and then they broke a JB double team. I actually forget how much the Nuggets were up at that moment, but it was a moment where it felt like that OG 3 was massive in the moment, and then JB breaking that double team, and they took the lead back, and it was just one thing after another. And then, of course, that gets you to the end of regulation, and you have a chance to win it in regulation, and you don't. And you feel like that was our best shot. They got the best player in the world and a guy who was on fire tonight. I think Murray ended up with 39? Yeah, 39 on a lot of shots, but 39. And then it is just an absolute classic overtime period that is one team delivering a knockout punch, and then the Knicks delivering a knockout punch, and back and forth and back and forth. And then you despite the fact that wasn't perfect down the stretch, you didn't make every basket down the stretch, but you did enough down the stretch. Karl Anthony Towns with the big layup on the Jalen Brunson assist to put them up by 2. 119, 117. And then you get the stop. You get the stop that you needed. And I'm trying to think of Nick regular season gut punches over the years that did not result in an instant loss. Because we could talk about gut punches. The only one that sticks out above this in terms of regular season, and again, my memory is shit, but is the Luka putback during Luka's 60-point game in Dallas when the Knicks were down Jalen Brunson and everybody played like 45 minutes, and I've never seen a team before or since expend that much effort and just pride in staying in a game. And they had the game won, and they were up by whatever it was, I think 9 points or 13. I forget what it was. We were up by 13 points with 90 seconds left. I think that's what it was. It was 13 points, 90 seconds left. And then you get down to the very end, and after all the missteps, you still have it won, and then Luka gets the offensive rebound and puts it back, and you go into overtime. And other than that, I think this was probably, in terms of gut punches, that like the game's won, and then, oh my God, why are we not leaving the court? We have to play more basketball. What happened? And then you get into double overtime, and then it's just, and then of course, the first significant play of double overtime, Jalen Brunson getting stripped, and Jamal Murray has the pick 6. And then all the Knicks did after that is pull off an 8-0 run. And you're watching this team do this, and you're in utter disbelief. And that entire period, for me, was a lot of stunned silence, because I was just waiting for the other shoe to drop, because I was convinced they were going to lose that game, and they didn't. And somehow they pulled it out. And look, this was, you want to call this the best Jalen Brunson game of the season? I think you could call it the best Jalen Brunson game of the season. Was it a perfect game? No, it wasn't a perfect game. But 42 points on 27 shots, 9 assists, 8 rebounds, only 1 turnover after the first quarter. If you want to call this Jalen Brunson's best game of the season, you could call it Jalen Brunson's best game of the season. If you want to call this Karl Anthony Towns' best game of the season, I have zero issue with that. He's had bigger scoring games. He has had more unstoppable offensive nights. Certainly against Minnesota, against Miami, in the Cup prelim game where they couldn't do anything with him and he was on fire. I put this ahead of both of them, given where he has been at offensively for seemingly months and all of the conversation over the last few weeks. And then to get knocked in the eye and have blood streaming down his face. And I called it in the moment. And shout out to everybody who was watching along on the watch along with us, with me and Sean and Andrew. I called it in the moment after he went out of the game. So he's going to come back and have his best game of the season. I knew it. I just know how this guy works. And I knew once he had the opportunity to come back in with the cape on, I'm like, man, they're not gonna be able to do anything with him. And he came and he had his biggest impact of the season in terms of two-way impact. And we could talk about his defense too. And we will talk about his defense. And yet I could sit here and I could say best Jalen Brunson game of the season. I could sit here and I could say best Karl Anthony Towns game of the season. And the first guy that I want to talk about, is Mitchell Robinson. Man, I always reference this because it's so perfect. When we had nothing else to root for, when the idea of a Jalen Brunson was cruel to think about, because it was like we're never getting a player of that caliber, to say, like, forget Jalen Brunson. We would never be getting a player of Karl Anthony Towns' caliber. There's nothing. The only thing we had was this kid who did not know shit from shit on a basketball court or off. And he gave you a reason to watch the team every night. And all that's happened since then is, assholes like me putting him in this trade or that trade, or, oh, well, we can't extend him. So, we got to move him before the deadline. The deal. Shout out to Jeremy, continuous suit, the whole thing. And yet all this guy does every year, through injuries, through people competing for his job, through, again, like not always having a contract, beyond the season, he just keeps showing up. And it's not just that he gets better. A lot of guys get better over their course of their career, which he has. He gets more and more dependable, to the point that now you look at this team that is competing for a title this year, find me a more dependable presence on both ends of the floor for what he does than Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson had 3 or 4 defensive stands in this game where he got switched onto, you're talking about he got switched onto Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray's an all-star. I know he's a one-time all-star, but there were 2 or 3 other years where he could have easily made it. That dude is one of the most dangerous scorers in the league. He dropped 20 on the Knicks like it was nothing in the first quarter. And there's big old Mitch, one-on-one on an island, and he did not give an inch on those possessions, to say nothing of the work that he did when he was matched up one-on-one on Nikola Jokic down in the post. I can't remember a single time where I think there was one time where Jokic got a step on Mitch and finished. It was on the near, like, if we're watching, the screen, it was on like the near baseline, and Mitch had him, and Jokic got a step on him and put it in. There was that. And then there was the absolute bullshit foul that was called in the last, I think it was called in the last minute of the game, right? Where, minute 16 left, where, the Knicks had gone up by 7. And Jokic, because ball don't lie, missed the first 2 free throws. Again, everybody was gassed. So it's like the Knicks were gassed, they pulled it out. Nuggets were gassed, everybody's gassed. That wasn't a foul. That was good defense. The fact that this guy has played at an all defense caliber level at multiple times throughout his career, and that might have been his best defensive game that we've ever seen. That's just absurd. Really, it's absurd. I mean, I didn't even look at his final stat line. I don't like blocks, steals, none of that shit matters. But yeah, he ended up with 1 block and 1 steal, and yet that was as impactful a defensive game as any of us have seen this year. So got to start with Mitch. And then I ended up playing 23 minutes, so that's among his higher totals of the season. And he needed to play all those minutes because Karl-Anthony Towns fouled out, and yet not one piece of me is mad that Karl-Anthony Towns fouled out, because that dude, you want to talk about best defensive games of the season, I think that had to be Karl's best defensive game of the season. You want, and here's the thing, it's think about, and it wasn't just Cat, like they were obviously trying to get Cat into the actions. It was interesting to me that they were trying to get, it felt like Cat into the actions almost as much, if I think even more than Brunson. I'm going to be very curious to go back and watch the Nuggets possessions throughout the fourth quarter and both overtimes and count the possessions where they were trying to bring Cat into the action and the possessions where they were trying to bring Jalen into the action, and see which is higher. It feels like the number with Cat is higher. And just again, to put this into perspective, this was a Knicks team that forget actions involving the literal best 2-man combination in the sport today. Guys, these 2 guys, Jokic and Murray, they have a mind meld. The only mind meld we've seen on par with them over the last 15 years in the NBA is Steph and Draymond. And I think you could easily argue that Jokic and Murray are more dangerous because, I was going to say no disrespect to Draymond Green, but fuck him. Draymond Green's not anywhere near the level of offensive player as Jokic or Murray for that matter. So, I would argue that they're even more dangerous to guard. Now, look, did it help tonight that Nikola Jokic shot 1 of 13 from deep? Absolutely. 100%. And did it help that the Nuggets as a team shot 13 for 50 from deep? Absolutely. But you know what? The thing with this Nuggets offense, and they are the best offense in basketball, I don't think Boston has passed them yet. They're the best offense in basketball, and they're the most dangerous offense, I would say, that we have seen in the NBA since the peak Warriors. So, like, everybody always says you have to give up. You have to give up something. The thing that I respect so much about how the Knicks were covering those actions is the activity level never stopped. The activity level never stopped. If there was a hedge, it was a meaningful hedge, and then there was an equally meaningful recovery. If there were, you were talking about pre-switching. You're talking about, all right, there was a switch that we don't want. We have an opportunity to switch back. We'll switch it back. You want to talk about battling. You want to talk about battling over screens. OG Anunoby tonight. I haven't mentioned his name once, and shame on me for that. So I only give out 3 stars of the game in my Knicks Film School newsletter on Substack. It's a rule. I don't give out. I mean, there are times where I have guys that, I think, are like end up like 6th on the totem pole that I'm like, that dude had an argument for the 3-star award. I only give out 3. The fact that OG Anunoby is almost probably not going to get one of those stars when, again, if you want to tell me that OG Anunoby was the most important player in this game, I honestly am not sure I could sit here and tell you otherwise, because if you don't have someone that is capable of, and again, that's not an ideal matchup for OG Anunoby. That is, and I don't mean to disparage him again, but like, that's kind of Mikal Bridges' job. that especially with Josh Hart out. That's kind of Mikal Bridges' job, is to chase around the Jamal Murrays of the world. That is not what OG Anunoby is here to do. OG Anunoby, I mean, if he was here in the game, he'd be guarding, Aaron Gordon. But that's a tough matchup for OG. And he just, he was as glued to Murray as you could possibly be. And him staying just attached enough on those defensive possessions and that's the difference. And that's the difference between a defensive possession where you have to compromise, where it's a 5-alarm fire and it's like, oh shit, he's sprung open. Who's flying out to recover? Now all of a sudden it's not that. Now all of a sudden it's all right. We're going to show, but we don't have to compromise everything because OG is still kind of attached. And then it's the show, the recover, it's everything. And they were working in such unison. Think about over the course of this game, how many possessions really were there from Denver where you looked at and you're like, that was just a complete breakdown by the Knicks defense. I like after the first quarter, and again, even the first quarter, tip your cap to Murray, there really were not many of those possessions. Certainly none down the stretch. Like they guarded their asses off. I know the Nuggets scored 127 points, but that was in double overtime. And again, I will emphasize it one more time. This is the best offense in basketball. So OG Anunoby, unsung hero. Off the bench, Mo Diawara, the confidence. Love the confidence. Gonna love watching him on the Knicks, hopefully for many years to come. Tyler Kolek, not his finest moment. And then speaking of unsung heroes, how about this stat line? In 36 minutes, 16 points, only 6 of 15 from the field, but 4 of 10 from three. And when he needed to make the big ones, guess what? He made the big ones. Of course, I'm talking about Landry Shamet. We were talking during the watch. How's this for Landry Shamet? In a game that they won by 7 points, a plus 22. I like them apples. We were talking during the watch along about Mike Brown's circle of trust. And, Jalen Brunson, he's the only guy on the innermost circle of trust. And then on that next circle outside, these are concentric circles if you want to picture them. The next circle outside, you're looking at, Josh, Mitch, probably OG. I think you got to be looking at Landry Shamet. I don't know how you're not looking at Landry Shamet at this point. Especially with Deuce out, it's just an absolute necessity. So shout out to him. And then Mikal. Had the moment of redemption with the off ball, with the block after or on the Christian Brown layup attempt with how much time was left there? Hold on, I'm trying to find it now. They actually didn't credit him with the block, but it was with 41 seconds left. He made the defensive play, like it was his defensive play. In the first overtime, I should note, and that was his moment of redemption. And then, the unfortunate thing for Mikal is players have brain farts all the time. Like brain farts are a thing. Jalen Brunson has had brain farts. I'll always, unless they win a championship, and God willing they will at some point during my lifetime, please. His pass to OG under the basket in game one. I will always think back to that as a moment that he did not need to throw that ball. Everybody has brain farts. Best player, Jokic, has had brain farts. This wasn't that. This was unfortunately a sign of something with a particular player that has a very particular thing about them that he leaves to be desired. And, the fact that, look, the Knicks are always going to have a physical identity. And I think when people talk about how much of their physicality went out with the moves that they made a year and a half ago, people do put that on Cat, and yet you watch Cat in a game like this. Like that dude, physicality is not his issue. It's never been his issue. He has other issues. I don't think that's it. It is, but with Mikal, it's tough to ignore sometimes. And tonight, I thank God that they won, because the unholy hell that would have been the fire that would have rained down upon his poor soul. I frankly don't want to think about. And again, it's not just because I like Mikal Bridges, and I do, but that would have been really unfortunate. And yet, as I say all that, Bridges arguably hit the nail in the coffin where to make it a 7-point game with under 1:30 to go in this game. So even he had a little measure of redemption in a game where he finished with 5 points on 2 of 8 shooting, but played 48 minutes. Again, who was Tom Thibodeau the coach tonight? Mikal Bridges 48, Brunson 47, OG 47. So, and I mentioned Sham at 36. Look, they pulled it out. And sometimes it doesn't matter how you do it, but as long as you do it, and that is 8 straight wins for this basketball team. Can't say enough. I'm really excited to do the rest of the show. I can't wait to see what people are going to say in the super chats. And then, and just one more time, one last, before we move to our best bets for tonight. Kat and Jalen. I'm genuinely at a loss for words, and for completely different reasons. For Towns to come out and have that performance after everything that's been going on, incredible stuff, and it proved that a lot of pretty nasty shit that people have been saying, and got 2 thumbs pointing right back in my own direction. It is not fair, because that is not his default, is to not come up big. He has this gear, and you watch him at sometimes, and it's just, he's his own worst enemy, because you watch his game like this and you're like, why does it look so different sometimes, than this, in so many respects? And yet they needed him tonight. He came up big. And then Jalen Brunson, I had to go change into my my Slam magazine King of New York Jalen Brunson shirt, because he is the King of New York. I'm not a Yankee fan, so I can't really speak to Aaron Judge, but I know my guy, and ain't nobody doing it like this guy. There is no one in basketball who does it quite like him, and the way he does it at his size. And just, when you look, you want to talk about it, had nothing left. He had nothing left, by that second overtime, and just bucket after bucket after. And these were, you want to talk about tough baskets? That dude makes more tough baskets than anyone in the league, and he's 6 foot nothing, and he is not going to win any foot races. He's not winning any high jumps, and none of that matters, because that's certain something that the greats have that separate them, whatever it is. Thank God to all of us as Knicks fans, he's got it. So, final shout out will go to him. All right. I think that's everything. I'm sure I forgot some stuff, but I'm sure you all will remind me of it as we go through the post game, which, before we do get to those super chats, let us check in on what, unfortunately, and this is, you want to talk about a crazy 2 out of 3 that absolutely should have been a 3 out of 3. But look, we're always going to take 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So we had Karl-Anthony Towns, Jeff's bet. And again, these are our best bets presented by Fanatics Sportsbook, of course. Karl-Anthony Towns, 20 or more points. Carl cleared that. He got 24. So that's a win for Jeff. Sean, I hate Sean for this, because he had Bruce Brown making at least 1 3. And Bruce Brown made exactly 1 3. And you know what that 3-pointer was? Or excuse me, he made 2 threes. I forgot the second one. Made 2 threes, but the first of those was the one at the end of the first quarter, that buzzer beater, which was sickening. Not one of the 5 most sickening moments of the night, but it was still sickening. And then Andrew, with my favorite bet of any of these, Mitchell Robinson, at least 9 rebounds. And Mitchell Robinson, of course, ends up with 8 rebounds. And yet, he was responsible for so many team rebounds because when he's out there, Denver has to pay so much attention to him. The thing that held Mitch back tonight is he only got 1 offensive board. And that, that's credit to Nikola Jokic, who's probably pound for pound the best pure rebounder in the game right now, in addition to every other freaking thing that he's awesome at, except 3-point shooting, not tonight at least. So 2 for 3. Not bad. Don't forget, you could see all of our best bets before every Knicks game on the Fanatics Sportsbook app. We usually have them up there 3, 4, 5 hours before the game. And then also you could check out our video picks, our betting and sweating picks, which we're looking forward to doing a fun competition with those come the month of March. And then last but not least, don't forget, shameless plug as I frantically look for the text because my memory is absolutely crap and I can't remember anything. If you are getting your tickets for Fanatics Fest, you're going to want to use that code Knicks Film 10. Got it. Knicks Film 10. Yes. Get your tickets now. There's going to be a lot of great guests there, including Karl Anthony Towns and the roommates. So it's going to be a fun event in July, and your boys from Knicks Film School will be there. So yeah, Knicks Film 10. Get your tickets now for Fanatics Fest. Okay, let's do it. Here we go. Take another sip. This is very good whiskey. Okay, we're gonna start off with Niederhino. I've seen enough. Retire Mitch's jersey. We've gotten some of those comments recently over several games about what are the odds that Mitchell Robinson gets his jersey put in the rafters. I mean, look, if he stays and spends his whole career here, and I don't know, do they have to win a title? I maintain that they probably need to win a title. If they win a title and he's on the team when they win a title, actually, I take that back. I don't even think he needs to spend his whole career here. If he is on the team and he's playing this sort of a prominent role and they win a title, I think he probably gets his jersey retired because I think if they win a title, there's going to be 4 or 5 players from that team who will get their jersey retired. I'm all for it. Really quick note from our buddy Ian Begley. Just put this out about 10 minutes ago. With the trade deadline roughly 16 hours away, New Orleans Pelicans guard Jose Alvarado remains a trade target for the Knicks. Yves Missi, another player they have had interest in, has drawn strong interest from the Pacers and other teams. It may require significant draft capital to get New Orleans to move Missi. Oh, look, it's my daughter Isabel, who is here at 11 o'clock at night. Hey, what's up? You want water? What a request. You know what? Lucky as you may be, I have water right here. Here, we can keep going with the super chats. This is fine. Don't mind my daughter's Santa pajamas, by the way. We keep our holiday pajamas throughout the year. Norman Jean King, when 1-5 is asleep, it's hard playing well. I don't know what's 1-5. Mark, you have any idea what 1-5 is? I don't know what 1-5 means. Is that good? Okay, good. Why don't you go up to bed? Where's mommy's probably in Sass's bed. Why don't you go upstairs? Okay. Can I have a kiss? Okay. I love you. Okay. Asleep. 1-5 is asleep. You know what's not asleep is my younger daughter. Thanks, Norman. I'm not really sure what you mean by there, but shout out to you. Trying my best. Do you understand Brown's reluctance to call timeouts in big situations? At the end of the fourth and at the end of OT, both times he had 2 in his pocket. Weird. Well, the one play that I remember distinctly is Brunson calling, specifically saying, "Do not call the timeout." I think that was at the end of regulation. I think that was at the end of regulation. Yeah. Yes, that was at the end of regulation because they left a little bit too much time on, and Jokic got the shot attempt off, and thank the good Lord that did not go down. As far as the end of the first overtime period, okay, so the Knicks were up 2. I don't know, like you don't go against a set defense. I mean, look, I'm not going to kill him for it. If you want to criticize him for it, that's fine. I that's not something that I tend to get worked up over. Thanks, trying my best. Shaq the Great. Ball moved a lot better in that second OT. That first was making me pull my hair out. I love my Knicks. I mean, look, what did they score in the first overtime? Hold on. At the end of the fourth, it was 108-108. At the end of the first overtime, it was 119-119. They scored 11 in the first overtime. In the second overtime, they scored 15. So they definitely scored more effectively in the second overtime. They also hit some more shots in the second overtime. Look, it's fair. It is the eternal push and pull of this basketball team. They have one traditional shot creator, and that traditional shot creator is not the level of passer of some of the other high-end shot creators in the league, like your Jokic's and your, Luka's, LeBron, obviously, although he's taken a step back, needless to say. I'm trying to think of like who, even like Cade, Cade, I think I'd take Brunson over Cade, but Cade's, I think at this point a better passer. So, oh look, my daughter's back. And it's a push and pull, and I don't think there's ever going to be necessarily a right answer. I think it's always something that's just kind of a work in progress. Hey, you want to come to Daddy? Okay, you come to Daddy. Thanks, Shaq. Appreciate you. Anthony Sixto, what's going on, Anthony? 2 wins in one night. My favorite game of the year. Yes, they did get 2 wins in one night because they won it in overtime and then they won it in double overtime. So much to love, but how about Mitch effing? Now I have to watch my mouth. Mitch effing Robinson. Yes. Absolute defensive masterclass. I genuinely think it's the best defensive game a Nick has played this year. I'm trying to think of what other competitors there would be. I mean, OG's had some doozies. He's had some really good ones. But this has to be number one. Given the opponent and given how much he had to do, given what he had to do against Jokic and given what he had to do against Murray, who are just 2 completely different covers, I would say this one. Here, you know what you should do? No, I don't know if she's coming. She's in one of the beds. We have 3 beds upstairs. She's in one of them, I promise. Anyway, thanks, Anthony. Sergio Escobar, what's going on, Sergio? Yeah, boy. The Knicks rule. McCall's tired. Cat's wired. Mitch for president. Mo is an alien. OG's a dog. Brown's coach of the year. I don't think he's getting that award. Cap's defensive player of the year. I like that one. Never forget. Fuck Ice and fucking Embiid. Sure, why not? McCall's tired. What do you mean by that? That McCall, like the concept of McCall Bridges being like a winning, meaningful player is tired, or just that he is literally tired and that's why we're seeing what we're seeing? I mean, look, the dude plays every game. He might be tired. I don't know. I don't think that's it. I think he's just I think McCall Bridges is just a weird guy. And he has these moments. And tonight he had one of those moments. And thankfully we survived it. So yeah, that's all that matters. Okay. Thanks, Sergio. Appreciate you, man. Drew P. OG's right. Mitch is the league's best defender. Did he say that? I mean, I'll take your word for it. I'm literally just scrolling through Twitter really quickly now. It's lots of fun tweets. Man, what a freaking win this was. I really, I just saw Benji's grade book. Okay, let's look at Benji's grades. So man, he gave Mitch a B plus. I'm gonna have to speak to Benji about that. Brunson A minus, and Anunoby B plus. Towns A minus. Man, Benji, hard grader, man, hard grader. We're gonna have a conversation about this one. Okay, next up. Michael Aaron, what's going on, Michael? I remember a cap or no cap years ago. You and Jeremy mused about the possibility of JB being a good point guard for us. Little did we know how good he'd be. I mean, nobody knew. Nobody knew this. Nobody. And again, I always say, JB didn't know. JB didn't know he'd be this. If he knew he would be this, would he have gone to Dallas before the trade deadline back in January of 2022? Yeah. Back in January 2022. And he has spoken about this on the record, and it has been reported before that, and said, hey, I'll still take the 4 for 55. And they said, no. If Jalen Brunson thought that he was this, he's not taking that. Now, what happened between then and when the Knicks signed him obviously was the proof of concept, which happened when Luka missed all those games and Brunson turned into a 20-7 guy and then went into the playoffs and had these 3 outstanding playoff games. And then it was like, okay, I think maybe I actually can do this if I could find a team willing to give me the rock and put the ball in my hands and say go. And he found the team, and he certainly found the coach. So, but yeah, I mean, who could have? Nobody in their right mind could have seen this. This? No, not this. All right, we got a Chris Persianen tweet. Mike Brown on Jalen Brunson. That's what an MVP candidate does on a big stage coming off a back-to-back. They obviously had a back-to-back too, but a big stage, he showed why he should be mentioned as one of the first guys anyone is talking about as an MVP candidate. Listen, the MVP race is going to get very interesting between Jokic. He can only miss a couple more games, so there's that. SGA is now missing games. Look, it's still, to me, SGA's award to lose until he misses 17 or 18 games. Maybe if he misses close to close to 17 and Jokic actually meets the minimum, then it'll be closer. But hey, you can't rule out that those guys might not qualify. And if there's ever a world where neither of them qualify for the award, then it's a free-for-all. You're going to have people arguing for Brunson. You're going to have people arguing for Cade, for Jaylen Brown, for Maxey, for Wemby, for Luka. That would be the free-for-all of free-for-alls. And as it is, it's going to be, I think, one of the more interesting who ends up 3rd, 4th, and 5th on the ballot. So we'll see. Thanks, Michael. Kevin Danishevsky, this team. I agree. 8 in a row. Don't care who Denver was missing. Again, we were missing guys too. Murray hit crazy shots, and we won twice. Mitch, JB for life. Gritty cat game. Love McCall, but ... Yeah, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it. I don't know. With the injuries, who had the advantage? So Aaron Gordon is Denver's 3rd most important player. Cam Johnson, with the emergence of Peyton Watson, has become probably at this point Denver's 6th most important player. So they were missing their 3rd most important player and their 6th most important player. Hart and Deuce. I mean, I don't know. I hate doing these rankings. I truly hate it. I think I did these rankings in the last post game. I may have had them 5th, 6th, and 7th in some order. Just didn't feel great. But whatever it is, Denver right now, when healthy, everybody would look at them as the superior team to the Knicks. So, look, you got the win against a team that a lot of people have ahead of you. So that right there, that's a positive. And the other thing I want to it's important to point out the Denver, they nailed everything they needed to nail. Like everything that they wanted to come through this season has come through in a big way, with the possible exception of the Cam Johnson experience, which has been a little underwhelming. But like the emergence of Peyton Watson, insane. Strother has come along in a significant way. Brown has obviously been hurt and missed a lot of the season, but he is exactly what they need him to be. Murray is having the best season of his career. So all these things are going really well for them. The Knicks, Cat having his most down season of his career. And then you throw in the Yabusele and Jordan Clarkson piece, and how the Knicks, we got how many hours left to go? What are they going to turn? What are they going to do? Because it feels like because if Denver was fully healthy and the Knicks were fully healthy, maybe this game goes differently. Maybe it goes differently, which is why you need to get one more reinforcement in the door. Thanks, Kev. Bill Peterfriend, what's going on? Thank you for the generous contribution, Bill. Thank goodness we have 11. Yes. Chance after chance to close it. Solid win. This is our team for the year, I presume. Going to be a fun, wild ride. Advice, enjoy it, fans. Listen, man, if you can't enjoy this game, I don't know what you're doing. We've been on the other side. This is better. No, listen, it's great. This team has been it's been unlike any team in Knicks history. Because the championship teams were just a bastion of consistency. They had their hurdle to overcome in the Celtics, and eventually they got over the hurdle, but you knew what you were going to get, throughout that whole era. The Ewing teams, the early Ewing teams never quite had the team, and then they had the team, and they were also consistent in their own way, and then they had just a series of heartbreaks. But there was a consistency about them also, but also part of that consistency was a consistent feeling like they were always going to be the bridesmaid and never the bride. The Melo years were whatever. I don't really know how to assess that because it was so short, and then this team, it's just the roller coaster we've been on now. Obviously, since before the Cat and Bridges trade, but really, it's the last year and a half. It's just so unique. It's just so unique, and they really do have a way of making you want to pull your hair out because of. It's funny, and I don't think we say this enough, but it should probably be said because it's implied all the time. But it's not only the players themselves. But when you combine the players and with how they were acquired, it's not just the Mikal Bridges can be frustrating sometimes. It's that it can be frustrating sometimes and you gave up what you gave up to get him. It's not just the Cat can be frustrating sometimes. It is he replaced this guy who was integral to your identity in Isaiah Hartenstein, and you gave up this other guy, two guys really, who were integral to your identity to get him. So it's a combination of all those things. And then you add the coaching part of it too. And it's just, it really does make for, a lot of volatility as fans trying to watch and maintain some semblance of sanity, which is hard. You could say advice, just enjoy it. I've said many versions of that thing over the last year and a half. And yet even I sometimes am sitting here and it could be a struggle. So, it's just a unique team. And, but this is the squad. They'll get another piece here. I would bet anything they're going to get another piece, but for the most part, this is the squad. Thanks, Bill. By the way, this is per Knicks PR. Brunson's 9th game as a Knick, recording 40 or more points, 5 or more assists, and 5 or more rebounds, surpassing Richie Guerin, Hall of Famer Richie Guerin, for the most in franchise history. Decent basketball player. Ron Tequila, what's going on, Ron? Huge win. Now go beat the fraud Pistons. String up Tyler Ford at half court. Look, it was a foul. The Bridges call. It was a foul. Should you call it in that situation? Should there be an implied rule in the NBA like they have in football with pass interference that if the ball is not catchable, you don't call a foul? McCall doing what he did not, whether he did that or not, there was not going to be a putback opportunity. There wasn't enough time for a putback opportunity. Brown wasn't close enough to get a putback. But look, it's a foul. There is no such rule in the NBA. It was a foul, and he called it, and thank God it didn't cost us. Thanks, Ron. I am AK Legend. That ref can have a fat one. JB and Mitch, I love you. Let's go Knicks. Thank you, I am AK Legend. Appreciate you. Andrew Badow. Never have I seen a white oak slide from a brisk breeze of a forearm. Yoker, the real joke of Flop Brigade. Look, everybody does it. Everybody does it. It's sad that I just went at this. The Hornets waived Pat Connaughton, which they had to do. They like Pat Connaughton, but they waived Pat Connaughton to accommodate, I think it's the Trey Jones trade that they made earlier tonight. Hornets moving to shake him. Good for them. I don't know, man. If the Knicks can make a move and they could get an extra roster spot where they could afford to take on a 15th guy, I will happily sign Pat Connaughton to that 15th roster spot. That dude's a good locker room dude. I'm actually, part of me is surprised given what their coach thinks of him. A little surprised they waived him. But yeah. Anyway. Okay. Thanks, Andrew. Z James. What's going on, Z James? Feeling lucky my favorite game of the year landed on my birthday. Oh, happy birthday, man. That's awesome. Very cool. Very, very cool. And but he's not probably, I don't think he's watching or will listen or watch, but belated happy birthday to my brother-in-law, CJ. Bridges had me throwing things, but what a game. Mitch's most athletic game of the year. When he didn't, it cannot be emphasized enough how difficult it is to not bite on Nikola Jokic pump fakes. He's the best in the game. He's literally the best in the sport. And Mitch, I don't think he ever bit. And again, that foul that they called on the three-pointer was bullshit. That's the call I'm more mad about than the call. I'm mad at Bridges for the call at the end of overtime. I'm mad at the refs for the call, on that one. So yeah. Where is this? I'm trying to find the steal that you're talking about. Where was that? When did Robinson make that steal? Hold on here. I'm going to find this real quick. No, it wasn't there. I'll find it. Let's get the next super chat up here. Paul McFarlane, what's going on, Paul? How are you? Get me some heart medicine. Yeah, there's not enough in the freaking world. Obviously, Brunson won it at the end, but all-around team effort. Oh, this is as good a team win as they've had all year. They needed everybody. Everybody who played tonight, even Mikal Bridges, made like a couple of plays. Now, did he extend the game? And should the game have been as close? Probably not. But it was a team win. Cats one-man run at the end of the second, I thought was huge. It's if we are zooming out, if we're zooming out and we key in on like what was the most significant stretch of this game for the Knicks big picture, I don't think there's any question that it was Cat going on. It was a 7-0 scoring run, but it really was his 9-0 run because the last basket of the run was his hit ahead pass to I forget who got that basket, but like awesome pass. Okay, you want to do defense player of the game, Mark? We can put him up. So Mitch, defense player of the game. He has now tied OG Anunoby for the top spot. So 7 for Mitch, 7 for OG. This is really turning into something, man. This is cool that we get to have this little race here down. I bet, I hope these guys are competitive about this. I wonder if there's a prize at the end of the year. And is that prize a monster truck? So we'll get, let's get the pictures. Yeah, Mitch looking good there. And then this might be my favorite picture of the year. So you got Cat laying on the freaking floor with his foot up, given I don't know what sign that is. Man, Shamet looks freaking ripped. All these guys look in great shape. Everybody's happy. Who's that? Yeah, Kevin McCullough there. Dottier's looking very nice. And what is that, like a velour suit? I don't know what that is. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Jessica, what's going on, Jessica? I know you might have put that jersey back up now, Jess. There's a 50% chance you already said the Danny Glover line after this one, John. Yes, I did. Also, this fucking team. I said them both. What a game. Let's go Knicks. Yes. No, it's not for the faint of heart, this one. By the way, Knicks record after this game, 33-18. Nuggets record after this game, 33-19. I have not yet done a advanced stats update. I'm sure it's probably updated now. Yes, it is updated. Knicks still 4th in net rating. That's not surprising because there's a gap between them and Boston and Detroit. But little separation between them and Houston, who I should know whether or not freaking Boston, man, they just don't lose anymore. My goodness. But offensive rating, the Knicks 3rd, Nuggets actually fall to 2nd. Boston, freaking Celtics, best offense in the league. That actually makes me sick to my stomach. And then the all-important defensive rating, Knicks, I think the exact same defensive rating that today that they had yesterday, 113.2. Man, they're like knocking on like top 9. Minnesota 112.6, Dallas 112.6, Boston 112.7. Knicks are not far away. And this may have been the biggest hurdle, if you guard this team. This was if you could dodge a wrench, you could dodge a ball. If you could guard this freaking Nuggets team, man, you can guard anybody. I don't care who it is. Thanks, Jess. Altered Yeast, what's going on, Altered? This fucking team. Yes, playoff style win. Coaching. I don't know if you mean the coaching you were happy with or not happy with. I love, man, I really don't have a lot of really hardly any complaints about Mike Brown. The decision to start Clarkson tonight, in the moment was a little baffling given the other directions he could have gone. And yet you looked up Clarkson. I didn't mention, that's a terrible job by me. Bad job by me not mentioning Jordan Clarkson. Jordan Clarkson had a good game. Scored 11 points. He was 5 of 7 from the field. Was he good defensively? No. Okay. It's not his strong suit, but he was okay. He was solid. He gave them, quality minutes on a night when they needed someone to give them quality minutes. And you look up at the end of the game, it's like, all right, well, I would have liked to give some of those minutes to Landry Shamet. Landry Shamet played 36 minutes. It's probably, is that probably as high as a Nick, or close to it. So, yeah. Good job, Mike Brown. Thanks, Altered Yeast. Precocious Salmon, my favorite of all of these names. Is it time to start believing yet? If not now, then when? Can this group beat Detroit or Boston with or without Tatum? Shout out Landry. Shout out KFS fam. Well, shout out to you. Thank you for that. Of course they could absolutely beat Detroit. They could absolutely beat this version of Boston. Can they beat a version of Boston when Tatum comes back? Look, they beat a fully healthy Tatum and that Boston team last year. They didn't look very good often doing it, but they beat them. So there's no one in the East that this team can't beat. But they got to go out there and they got to play like this every game in the playoffs. They didn't do that last year. The way they played tonight, they played better tonight than they played in any game versus Detroit. They played better tonight than they did in the only games that they played better than this tonight against Boston. I would say game 4. And game 6 was just such a weird game because they just got on this momentum surge, and the game was over early. And then I don't even like in the conference finals. How many games in the conference finals did they play that were definitively better than how they played tonight? Not many, So if they could bring this level of play into the playoffs, I think this team's going to go to the finals. I really do. Thanks, Precocious. Stevens Guillaume, what's going on, Stevens? That game shaved years off my life. You and me both, man. You and me both. So glad we got the win, 8 in a row. So this is now, hold on, I could look up probably pretty quickly. Because this is now how many different this is now how many different 8-game winning streaks they've had. 8 or 9. It's always 8 or 9. That's the number. So they have had 9 in a row. They did last season. They did 9 in a row the year before that. They did 9 in a row the year before that. And they did 9 in a row the We Here season. So that's 4 separate 9-game winning streaks in the, let's call it the Leon Rose era. And then they had an 8-game winning streak in the 22-23 season. That's the one that started after the Dallas game. So now, for the second time in the Leon Rose era, they have had an 8-game winning streak after a dispiriting loss to Dallas. Now, that streak ended at 8 games. Can this streak extend past 8 games? For the life of me, I do not remember who that 8-game winning streak ended against. It ended against the Raptors. I forgot that. 113-106. Hernan Gomez, Juancho Hernan Gomez, remember him? Was starting for the Raptors in that game. OG Anunoby played in that game. Oh, Pascal Siakam went for 52. How could I forget that one? I remember that one. Now I remember that. That was a close game. RJ and Randall both went for 30. Brunson had one of his worst games as a Knick. IQ went for 20. Yeah, I remember that game now. Anyway, thanks, Stevens. Spree, what's going on, Spree? Thank you for the very generous super chat. I'd take a bullet for JB. We all would. We're like, what was that Clint Eastwood movie, In the Line of Fire, I think, where he's like a Social Security agent? Yeah, that's us. And Mitch, too. We always seem comfortable in the Denver matchup. I mean, I'd love the challenge in a 7-game series. I'd love the challenge. Wouldn't that be fun? I think it's an interesting conversation which West team they match up better or worse, against. We have trade, by the way. Kuminga finally gets out of town, goes to Atlanta, along with Buddy Hield for our old friend, Kristaps Porzingis. Interesting. Kuminga to Atlanta. So that gives them, that's an interesting front line. Okongwu, Jalen Johnson, Kuminga. with Dyson Daniels and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. A fun little team. And they don't have their pick, so they're going to try to win games. Interesting. We'll see how that situation goes. Thanks, you Spree. Hush what's going on, Hush? Out of all the contenders, we always played the Nuggets really well. I wonder why that is. Yeah, I don't know. Like, you know why? Because Cat takes this matchup he sees himself as like an equal to Jokic, which I kind of love. That's awesome. Good for him. And then pre Cat, Mitch always came to play, and Hartenstein would come to play. So I think it was just kind of a good matchup. And yeah. I wonder. Big ups to Cap. Took us on a ride in his backpack. Mikal. Yeah, nothing to say. Let's go Knicks. Thanks, Hush. Wondering Tumnus, what's going on? Wondering. Mikal has been so good in this stretch and a locker room leader. A night to forget, but so happy for him drilling that last three. Glad we have him. I'm with you, man. I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that comment, and I'm glad someone came to his defense tonight. Go check out Benji's, I forget which grade book. It was one of his last 2 grade books. Some great Mikal stuff, and then he had a whole Mikal grade book about like a month ago, I want to say. It was a very funny one, but Mikal does a lot for this team. He really does. And even tonight, he had some really important stretches. So, it's just, he's like Cat in that the bad is very loud, and very noticeable. So there you go. Thanks, Wondering. Appreciate you. Taxi Dave, my guy. Thank God for blood pressure meds and, more importantly, Jalen Brunson. Let's go Knicks, and love you, Big Mac and KFS, and welcome me back, Cat. Cat welcomed us all back tonight. Come on. This is the home stretch. 31 games left to go. Let's get on the big guy's shoulders and let us ride him to whatever seed we're going to get and then into the playoffs. If this dude just plays like he did tonight, to say nothing of if the 3s start falling, oh my God, can you imagine if the 3s start falling? Then forget about it. But if he plays like he did tonight, this team will come out of if they play like they did tonight, this team's coming out of the East. Thanks, Taxi Dave. EDRHEU. I don't know how to pronounce that. Peyton Watson, Hammy won us this game. It helped. Certainly, it helped. Him leaving didn't hurt them. Peyton Watson's been awesome for the Nuggets for quite a while now. That said, he was 4-13 in the game. He was 4-13 in the game. And if Peyton Watson's in, is Tim Hardaway Jr. in? And, oh, by the way, Tim Hardaway Jr., 19 points, 6 of 8 shooting, 4 of 6 from deep. So you want to tell me Timmy would have played for Spencer Jones and Watson would have been in there instead of like a Bruce Brown or even a Strawther? Strawther hit 2 threes. Bruce Brown hit, again, 2 threes, although one of them was a heave. So, look, it's not an unfair comment that helped, but I don't know. I'm not, there's not 1 ounce of me that's feeling bad about getting his win. Yeah, Mark, that sounds great. Thanks, ED. DJ MKC 24. Love it. I don't know what needs to happen, but the Knicks need to do everything possible to keep Mitchell Robinson past the season. Nothing needs to happen. They just need to sign him to his next contract. They have his full bird rights. They could sign him to however much money they want to sign him for. Look, there has been a lot discussed about the second apron. And I will give a shameless plug yet again to my guy Jonas Plout and his newsletter on Substack, The Cap Crunch, which is the best apron analysis that you will find anywhere, bar none. Nothing's close. And he has been writing, all of his pieces that he's been writing for Knicks Film School. They're up on his site now, and you can read them for free. And he talks about the second apron in a very easy to understand way, which is that it's not that you cannot go into the second apron. It is designed to penalize teams who stay in the second apron. You can go into the second apron if you have a team that you believe is capable of winning a championship, and oh, by the way, you could always get out of it. Look at what the freaking Cavs have done over the last week. They were 20 some odd $1 million above the second apron at one time this season. And they just traded Lonzo Ball. They salary dumped him. They've made other moves. And now I don't know if they're under or they're very close to being under, but you could do different things. So the Knicks can go over the second apron next season. That's not the problem. It is about having levers to pull that if you want to then duck out of the second apron the following season, making sure it's not too cumbersome to do so. The point is this. I don't see the team out there that is going to go nuts and spend on Mitchell Robinson in an unreasonable degree. So I think the Knicks should be able to keep him if they want. The one thing that did scare me, and Ian Begley brought it up when I was with him on the putback earlier today, is mentioning that, hey, Scott Perry drafted Mitchell Robinson, and now he's running the Kings, and their cap situation is still kind of in flux. We got to see what they do tomorrow. But, there's a possibility that Scott Perry could go make a big offer to Mitchell Robinson, and the Kings don't operate with a lot of common sense. So for them to throw some massive contract at Mitchell Robinson, I wouldn't put that past them, but I don't know. I think that guy loves being a Knick, and I don't think he wants to go anywhere, and I don't think they want him to go anywhere. Got another trade here. Warriors trading Trace Jackson Davis to the Raptors for the Lakers 2026 second round pick. Okay. That's fine. Hush with another one. Can we just give Yabu's contract to Shamet? Unfortunately, no. But Shamet's another guy. He's going to earn more than the minimum next year, in all likelihood. So, look, they have some stuff to sort out this summer. They'll absolutely have some stuff to sort out this summer. But you know what? That's what you signed up for. Thanks, Hush. Dan Hidalgo, 3-time MVP Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, and the guy you wanted on your team down the stretch was one Jalen Markey Brunson. A1, 1A, A+, and a whole ass problem. Look, he's clutch player of the year. Can't stop him. And what I loved as much as anything was, again, the decision making. Was it perfect throughout the fourth quarter and both overtimes? Wasn't perfect. Specifically, his decision to pull from three on the third to last possession of the fourth. Excuse me, on the third to last possession of the fourth quarter. That was probably my least favorite shot he took of the entire game. But I really thought he was looking to make the pass tonight. And am I ever going to get on Jalen Brunson for pulling if he feels like he has the shot? No, I'm not about to do that. That dude, he's earned every benefit of every doubt. It's as simple as that. And again, tonight, 9 assists. Thanks, Dan. Hey, my guy, my NBA Takedown co-host, and also I'm going to be on with him tomorrow for the trade deadline. I'm starting out with Jeremy at 2, and then Jeff and Sean are joining me at 3:30. So, yeah, Jeff Johnson. Knicks are the first team in NBA history to win a game twice. New record setting every night. Mikal was a play away from being sent to the wall. Man, he was a play away from being pushed over the wall. Good redemption 3 in double overtime. Contenders again? What did LL Cool J say? Don't call it a comeback, baby. No, man. They had to go through their little thing. They went through their little thing. Now we're here. 33-18. What's that pace? Hold on here. Where's my freaking calculator? Here it is. 33 divided by 51. No, that can't be right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it is. Hold on. 33 divided by 51 equals times 82. 53 win pace. So there you go. That's pretty good. Unfortunately, the Pistons are going to win 60 games. Thanks, Jeff. I am Frank Luciano. What's going on, Frank? Haven't stood in front of the TV like that since the playoffs of last year. Really wanted that win. So great to see our boys play like a team again. Let's freaking go Knicks. Trying to think what other win I've wanted as much as this year. I don't think there was a single game. I really wanted to win the Shamet game in the moment. Really wanted to win the NBA Cup. I'm not going to lie. I really wanted to win. I feel a little silly about that now, but I really wanted to win the cup in the NBA moment, or in the cup. Yeah, in the moment. What else? And sorry, one other one, random one. The game they played right after the cup, the Pacers game, right after the cup win, because they were down multiple guys and they fought so hard. And they had it. They were in it down the stretch. In the moment, then I'm like, man, I really want to win this game. But I think this supersedes all of them in the want to win factor. Thanks, Frank. Blue Flags, what's going on, Blue? Would you be mad at grabbing Lonzo and Plumlee once they clear waivers? Oh, I didn't even know Plumlee was cut or was going to get cut. So right now, if they don't make a trade, and shout out to, I think James pointed this out on Twitter, James Edwards. If they don't make any trade, they would not be able to sign a 15th man to the roster until the beginning of April, which I think means they're not playoff eligible, although don't quote me on that. In any case, I'm sure they want to sign someone before that, which is why I would, again, for all the reasons, expect there to be a trade. Of those two, give me Plumlee. Give me Plumlee as a break in case of emergency big, who is, no disrespect to Ariel Hukporti, but better than Ariel Hukporti. And Lonzo, I think Lonzo is done. I feel bad saying that. Great story, back on the court, healthy, nice to see. Guy shooting 30% from three this year, or 27% from three. So, and he can't put the ball on the floor anyway. He only wants to do is shoot threes. Thanks, Blue Flags. Tony NFL, what's going on, Tony? This is the type of win that brings a team closer together. Yes. I mean, I think they were already probably pretty close together, but this feels like it matters. Picked up a teammate after a terrible error. Expect 5-pick McCall to repay that on Friday at Detroit. I hope so. But that's a great call by you, Tony, because there was no like, woe is me. There was no blame. There was no pointing fingers. And again, this is a team that has talked openly about on defense. They have pointed fingers when things were not going well, and they're not doing that anymore. So, yeah, they picked up their teammate. They didn't want to have that be on. They didn't want to have that be on McCall's shoulders, and they got it done, and he helped them. Thanks, Tony. Tony says, I don't know why, but I fear OKC and San Antonio much more than Denver. Not San Antonio. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's foolish of me. I would. Here's how I would rank them. I would do San Antonio would be third. I don't think OKC is a great matchup for the Knicks because of how difficult they would be able to make Jalen Brunson's life. Not to say that Denver couldn't or San Antonio couldn't for that matter, or like Minnesota, like all these teams can make it. All these good teams can make his life difficult, but there's something about what OKC, like they're just their relentless defense, and the fact that I really think Cat would struggle in that series. Just because they're so physical, and we'll see how the refs are going to call their games in the playoffs. It's probably going to determine who the champion is. But yeah, I just think they're a really tough matchup for the Knicks. So I would say OKC 1, Denver 2, San Antonio 3. Thanks, Tony. Blue Flags with another one. Thanks for the generosity here, Blue Flags. To be clear about my first message, I'm assuming they move Yabu first, but also not sure how things work in regard to prorated veteran minimums. Yeah. So how early they will be able to sign someone to their 15th roster spot depends entirely on how much salary is going to be left or how much money they're going to be able to save on a Yabu trade. And he adds, thank you for acting out my intrusive fan thoughts. Anytime, man. It's what I do. But here's the thing. They are definitely going to save money because they literally they're not allowed to make a trade in which they take back more money than they send out. So it is a question of, all right, when they make their what I think is an inevitable trade, whether it's Yabu and Dadier, Yabu, Dadier, and someone else, whatever. Maybe it's who knows. Maybe it's just Dadier. When they make that trade, how much are they saving? Are they saving enough money to be able to sign someone on March 20th? Are they saving enough money to be able to sign someone on March 10th? Or are they saving enough money to be able to sign someone next week? That's going to be the determining thing. So it's about a lot more than just the trade itself. It's about the flexibility that it gives them. Also, I should have pointed out the obvious. It would seem like the Warriors are now out on Giannis after they made this trade. So I don't know who's still in it. Is Minnesota still in it? Is Miami still in it? Is anybody still in it? We'll see. I hope nobody's in it. That's what I hope. Okay. Thanks, Blue Flags. Dom Cappuccini, what's going on, Dom? The Knicks fell off the wall last month. We may never know who was responsible for putting it together again. God bless whoever, because they're on their way back. I think it was probably everyone. It's probably everyone, but they got one captain. Just throwing that out there. But I think it had to be everyone. Had to be everyone. Thanks, Dom. We got another one from Dom here. Give me a prediction for tomorrow. With a Spectre hanging on Deuce, I feel like there has to be something. Well, I don't think Deuce is getting traded. I'll bet you a night's worth of super chats that Deuce is not getting traded. I think we're going to get maybe some news about Deuce tomorrow after 3:00. But I don't think Deuce is getting traded. Prediction for tomorrow. I think hang on one sec. Momentary pause. I want to see something real quick. The Pelicans. Yeah, it's a good clarification, Mark. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Pelicans have not made any trade yet. NBA players' salaries. Okay. So Yabu is at 5.5. 5.5 even. Alvarado, 4.5. So it's exactly $1 million. So the Pelicans are Pelicans salary cap. I think they are at least $1 million under the tax. Yeah. Right? Sorry. Cap hold, tax. Where's tax? Why don't they have tax on the? It's my SPOTRAC. Why do you only have the tax on the multi-year? Get the tax on the main page. Yeah, so they have 1.9 in space under the tax. And for anybody who doesn't know this, the Pelicans have never gone into the tax, and they will never go into the tax as long as they are owned by this owner. So, $1 million. They could afford to take on $1 million. The Knicks could also send cash back in the deal. I'm sure the Knicks would send cash back in the deal. You're asking me for a prediction. It's Yabu, and it's three, not the Wizards pick. It's Yabu, and it's either my first prediction would be Yabu in 3 seconds for Alvarado. Well, no, hold on. Is it going to take 4 seconds? Fuck my life. They have a lot, though. They have a lot. Yabu in 4 seconds for Alvarado. Final answer. Thanks, Tom. All righty. So we got a stat of the night, and then very excited to debut a new segment here in a moment. But first, stat of the night, 26%. So you can look at this stat of the night in both ways. This is obviously Denver's three-point percentage. How much of this is attributable to New York's defense? How much is attributable to Denver just kind of having an off night? I think that's up to you. I tend to think it's probably a little bit of both. Yeah. So it is the Nuggets' third lowest three-point percentage of the season. They took their most threes in a game this season. And the most total three-point attempts by both teams in any Knicks game this season at 100. The Knicks took 53s tonight? Did they really? Holy shit. They did. 18 for 50 from three. Damn. Wow. 100 3-pointers in a basketball game. Have they? I don't think they've ever done that before. Have they? Maybe they have. I can't remember it if they have. 7 times the Knicks have held their opponent to 31% shooting from three or worse. So here's the thing. That's going to regress. For all that they've done right and all the smoke that I've been blowing up their ass after each one of these wins. Opponents shooting 31% from three. But look, it's not all luck. It's opponents are feeling you. So when they get that 3-pointer, they're like, oh shit, I got a decent look from three. I better hit this. To me, that was the whole thing about the We Here season. And everybody who said that season that, oh, they're getting so lucky because opponents are missing these open shots. Yeah, because when it's like water in the desert every time you get an open three, or you have to work so hard for the open three, And tonight, I thought the Nuggets, by and large, had to work so hard for their threes that they got. So, again, did the Knicks get a little lucky? Sure, but sometimes better be lucky than good. Okay, and now we're debuting a brand new segment, courtesy of our friends from Mood. What is Mood? Yeah, of course, I'm talking about Mood.com, which is a new service where you could get online. It's an online cannabis company that discreetly ships federally legal THC right to your door. And the best part of it is that it's not an all-in-one thing. They are functional gummies. They kick in as little as 15 minutes, and they can give you all the different sorts of things that you're looking for. I like the Sleepy Time Advanced Gummies, which give me gentle waves of relaxation that melt away a busy day. Here's the important part. So we are doing, for a little while, the play or player that puts me in the mood. And tonight, there is nobody who put me in the mood more than Mitchell Robinson. Shout out to Mitch. I would highlight a particular play that put me in the mood, but there wasn't just one play. It was just Mitchell Robinson's presence, which I'm sure if he heard me do this ad read, he would find incredibly disturbing. Most importantly, if you are a Knicks Film School listener, which if you're watching and listening to this, you could get 20% off your first order. All you got to do is use code KFS. So again, you're going to mood.com. Please do use that code KFS, and you're getting 20% off your first order. Doesn't matter what you're looking for, whatever puts you in the perfect mood. You could take advantage of it at mood.com. Shout out to them. Again, that code KFS mood.com. All right. Shout out to them. All right. Home stretch here. Let's hope we can end it in more expeditious fashion than the Knicks did tonight. Jason, starting to like the new version of Cat. Yeah, I think all of us are. Used to be petrified when he was brought into an action on defense. Starting to trust him. Nothing amazing, just solid. He doesn't need to be amazing. He doesn't need to be amazing. He just needs to be solid. I don't honestly, given their respective defensive aptitudes, it might be more impressive what he did in terms of holding up in those actions than what Mitch did, because Mitch, he's an all defense level player, even though he's never made all defense team. He's an all defense level player. Cat is not. So yeah. Great stuff from Cat. He gave them everything they needed more, and let's get this version moving forward, please. Greg, film stuff. What's going on, Greg? Could have been a heartbreaking loss. Yes. Would have been. Man, it's so like, how do you, if they had lost it, like, whether that Jokic 3 at the buzzer goes in, or, whether, if double overtime goes differently or something, whatever. If they had lost this game, how do you compare that to like the Detroit loss or the Dallas loss? It's what's worse. I don't know. It's like comparing apples and rocks. I don't know. I will say, if they had lost this in double overtime with the way that the first overtime ended, it would have been, man. Oh my God, it's off the dome. Game 1 against Indy, and I'm not going back to the 90s. This is just modern era Knicks losses. Game 1 Indy, Game 5 Philly with the Maxi craziness at the end. Oh my God, was I devastated. Luka game, this game, if they had lost, and then probably the Bulls game where Grimes and Brunson both missed 2 free throws at the end, and they lost, which happened like, I think it was like 2 games before the Luka game. That's probably my top 5 of this era, I would say. Maybe I'm forgetting one. I don't think I am, though. Probably, Game 3 Indy probably deserves to be in there. Game 3 Indy 2024. With the Nemhart shot. But I don't know. That wasn't heartbreaking to me. It wasn't a gut punch for whatever reason. Anyway, McCall saved his Super Bowl weekend with that 3. Yes, he did. New York did a great job running Denver off of the 3 late in the game. They did a fantastic job. It was the game. It was the game. That what they did there, and their ability to do that, insane. I know Brunson is elite, but some of those late clutch baskets floored me. It's just, he's incredible. He's incredible. He's our MVP. Thanks, Greg. Michael Zeisman, what's going on, Michael? Thank you for the generous contribution. Watch the game from my balcony in Disney. Oh, good by you. I'll be in Florida in a week and a half. Trying not to wake up my daughter and wife. That's awesome, man. I feel like the Gaston and Ursula references speaking directly to me. That's great. This is my favorite chat of the night. Is it the end of April yet? Need playoff basketball now. My wife said to me the other day, they're opening Villains Land in Disney World, I believe. Mark, you hear anything about that? Yeah, I think it's a thing. It's not going to be ready for like years, but they're opening something. I think it's Villains something or other. So, yeah, I don't know when it opens, but they're doing that, and then Oh no, that's in California. In I think it's Universal. They're doing some different stuff there. But and then there's like a Frozen thing. There's a lot of stuff coming down the pike. Always something with these theme parks. Anyway, I hope you're having a great time. Hope you didn't wake anybody up. Awesome of you watching the game on the porch or on the balcony. And then thank you for hanging with us on this post game. That's great stuff, man. Mr. Fabro, what's going on, man? One thing your soliloquy about Mitch made me think of is how his minutes restriction this season might be benefiting Casey, what's his name? Casey Smith? All the flowers, dude. All the flowers for coming up with whatever this plan is. Yeah, Mitchell Robinson's season high in minutes. I want to say it's 27. Played 23 tonight. Yeah, 26-59 he played against Sacramento. And then he played, there were 4 games in total he's played over 26. And then 9 games in total he's played at least 24. I don't know. At this point, honestly, I don't even know if I would play him on back-to-backs. You know, I mean, look, I would like the 2 seed. I would like to have home court against Boston, if it's Boston or whoever. Mitch, I mean, he just if they get this version of Mitch in the playoffs, it's just that's such an important piece. Thanks, Mr. Fabro. Danishevsky with another one. 16-year road loss streak versus Denver feels like ages ago. I mean, the most hellacious ass whooping, more than the Bucks game with the Fizdale smile, more than the game they lost by, I think it was 1 billion points to Boston. The most hellacious ass whooping they've ever taken that I can remember is against the Denver Nuggets during I think it was maybe during the Fizdale era. Hold on here. Do we have something here? What is this? Hold on. Sorry. Oof. No. Yeah, but I remember that game and Jokic. I think Jokic had like close to a triple double in the first quarter or something. It was crazy. Yeah, but different era. Thanks, Kev. OG team, what's going on, man? McAllen needs to buy the whole team another set of Rolex watches. He needs to go take him out to a steak dinner is what he needs. And then, start working with some, I don't know. McAllen, the Knicks need to go to like Giants or Jets practice or something and go through a football practice. I'd like to see McAllen do that. That would maybe help him. I really want McAllen to thrive here. He fits so well. Yeah, with the one exception of this physicality thing, which is a thing. It's a thing. It's a thing. It needs to not be a thing. That's all I got to say about that. Thanks, OG team. Brother beat Brooklyn's Sportertainment show? Sure. Who cares for Bridges? Who cares about the game? Thank freaking God we got 8 in a row. Now I'm exhausted with that second overtime. Thank freaking God. You're all of us, brother man. Thank you. David J. Simonetti, what's going on, David? How are you? Have you considered doing a running tally of stars of the game in your newsletters? It would be cool to see the players' stars add up as the season goes. So I've done that for every year so far that I've had the newsletter. And this year, sure enough, as I continue to just put way too much on my plate and am unable to balance anything that I'm supposed to be balancing, I have not done it. Now, I could still make it up. I could have, I mean, what are we at game 50? Maybe this is an all-star break newsletter thing. That's probably the best way to do it. Probably an all-star break newsletter thing. Yeah. Yeah, I'll try. Thanks, David. Sergio, what's going on? Sergio Escobar with another one. Hey, J-Mac, they need to sign Mitch now before someone makes him an insane money offer in the summer. Hello, Sacktown. You know Ian chooses his words very carefully, and I still have PSD about iHeart. The thing about the Kings, though, the Kings don't have cap space this summer as of right now. Hold on. Kings multi-year cap. So next year, the problem is they got this Levine player option that he's going to pick up. Now DeRozan is non-guaranteed for next year, so they could buy him out. And I think I read a report that they will buy him out. But still, that's Levine, Sabonis, Hunter, Monk, Murray. Yeah, they're not going to have cap space unless the only way that they could actually have cap space is if they if they unload Sabonis for expiring money. And the trade that they were talking about, and the Raptors said, or no, the Kings said no because the Kings want to pick, is this trade for Barrett. Barrett's under contract next, right? Am I losing my mind? Isn't Barrett under contract next year? Hold on. I have it right here. Yeah, Barrett's under contract next year. He's under contract for $30 million. So I don't see how they're going to become a cap space team. But look, teams are creative, and God knows the Kings aren't above throwing around draft picks willy-nilly for, hey, you want to take our salary? You want to take our salary? They have guys that they want to get rid of. They want to get rid of Malik Monk. I talked about waiving DeRozan. Could they find a home for Levine this summer? That's a big number. I don't know. Look, is there a path? Yes. Let's see what they do here in the next day. I don't know. It's not a DEFCON situation yet. Thanks, Sergio. Vontaze, sure. Big shout out to Spencer Jones for knocking some sense into Cat. That's mean, but again, I knew it. If you were anybody watching on the watch along, I tell no lies. As soon as that happened, I'm like, he is coming in and having the game of the year. I knew it. I would bet anything on it. I literally did bet on it. I was a little bit too ahead of my skis. I bet as soon as he came back in the game, I bet 29 or more points for Cat at plus 300. So I lost that bet, but I got my Brunson Shamet parlay. So that was good. I was happy about that. So it came out a winner on the night. Shout out to Fanatics Sportsbook. Thanks, Vontez. Adam Austin, what's going on, Adam? I live in Colorado, and this game is like a religious holiday in my house. Best game of the year, except for the part where my 4-year-old shouted, "Go Nuggets" in the fourth. Oh, no. Don't worry. He's back to the Knicks. It's okay. We forgive him. He made an error. People make mistakes. Not the end of the world. Just put him in a dark room for a couple weeks and he will learn his lesson, and that's fine. You could slide, some cold cuts under the door. Maybe have a little water drip through a hole, make a little hole or something. As long as he learns his lesson, because that's what we're all about here at Knicks Film School, is teaching. Thanks, Adam. You like that one, Mark? As Child Protective Services comes and knocks on my door tomorrow. Mark Sable, my guy. What's going on, Mark? Hope everything's good with you. Agree that it's the best game of the season. First game since the Cup that makes me think this team can do special things. Hashtag let's fucking go. Yeah, man. Now let's hope we don't have another reversion in the other direction. I don't think we will. Look, you never know. Don't put it above any team to have a hot or a cold streak. Just looking ahead between now and the All-Star break. So you got obviously Detroit on Friday, massive. In Boston Sunday, massive. Home Indy win, please God, win that, and then back to back, you got to go to Philly and play a game before the All-Star break. You want it to keep going. You'd love it to keep going. You'd love to get that first 10-game winning streak of the Leon Rose era, but one at a time. Take care of business against Detroit. And then after the All-Star break, it doesn't get much easier. Detroit, Houston, Chicago, easy, but then Cleveland, Milwaukee, easy, and then San Antonio, the rematch. The one thing I will say about the Knicks schedule, it's funny how these things could change over time, because at the beginning of the year, you probably looked at a certain stretch and you're like, that might be tough. Now, starting on March 11th, listen to this stretch of games that they're going to have. Utah, Indiana, Golden State. Okay, that's going to be tough because Golden State clearly not letting go of the rope yet. Indiana, Brooklyn, Washington, New Orleans. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's six out of 7 that you go out there and you play serious basketball, and that's a great little boost. But listen now, what gets more difficult, guess who they played twice in the last 10 games? Is the Charlotte freaking Hornets. And guess what looks a lot more difficult than it did earlier in the year? The Charlotte freaking Hornets. They end with this: at Charlotte, at OKC, at Houston, at Memphis. Last game of a 4-game road streak, but Memphis is going to be trying to lose games. Chicago, that's a nice back-to-back. At Memphis, home for Chicago. And then here's their last 4. At Atlanta, Boston, Toronto, Charlotte. That is what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's a tricky last 9. That's a tricky last 9. There's a West Coast road trip in there too. At Denver, at LA, at Utah. So, we'll see. But got to take care of business. What's right in front of you right now? See if you can keep this thing going. Thanks, Mark. Danishevsky with another one. Mikal gaff similar to Smart 3 in the 21-22 opener. I have vanquished that from my mind. I remember the game. It's the Fournier game. I do not remember that specific play, but I'll take your word for it. Thanks, Kev. Luchasaurus, what's going on, man? How you doing? Thank you for chiming in. Thanks for watching, and thanks for the generous contribution. Always nice when we get some celebrities here in the super chats. The day after Christmas, I learned I need serious double shoulder surgery. And then my fiance later that day broke up with me, claiming I cared more about the Knicks than our relationship. I was crushed, but she ain't wrong. Let's go Knicks. I can't tell if this is a joke or serious. Either way, that's freaking awesome. At least you're honest with yourself. And if she thought you cared more about the Knicks than her and she had a problem with that, then screw her, man. Seriously. Get a better fiance. That's all I got to say about that. My wife knew what she was getting into when she signed on the dotted line. I can tell you that much. Thanks, Luchasaurus. Appreciate you. Okay. John Leary, do we think Deuce is okay? Come back after the All-Star break. Again, I don't want to speak to anything. I'm not optimistic. I'll just say that. Thanks, John. Sam Garcia's dad. Hey, listen, we watched that other Denver win together. What a fun day that was. J Mac, the last time I super chatted was after the January 21st Nets game, and I posted unbroken. It was a great post. I remember it. I didn't realize we were this unbroken. Let's freaking go Knicks. KFS, still the best. Hashtag thank you, Mitch. It's great to hear from you, Ray. Thank you so much. And they are very much not broken, which is great. It was looking dicey there for a while. Thanks, Ray. Appreciate you. Nikki Double G, you can see Cat wants to make it work here. Oh, yeah, of course. I almost, the moment that you're talking about where he was hyping the crowd up, Yeah, hyping the crowd going into the timeout. Shout out to the crowd for giving him love after fouling out. Yes, as they should have. And a round of applause as he went back to the locker room with the injury. I really wanted to see maybe some of his teammates, be there with him as he was rallying the troops. I am. I'm always going to be a little. I'm always going to be a little curious about the internal dynamics here, but look, right now they're all rowing in the same direction. That's what matters. And hopefully whatever was going on is not going on anymore. And that's what they're focused on, what they need to be focused on. Thanks, Nikki. Spenny Lanes, what's going on? Spoke with Mitchell Robinson, and don't be surprised if he isn't in next year. Oh, we got some breaking news here. All right. Look, he wants to get paid. All right. He wants to get paid. Now, I don't know. I mean, if you spoke with Mitch, you would think you're getting that from the source. I don't even know if I don't know if so Spenny Lanes is adding that Mitch is a customer of his. I'm not sure I would even believe Mitch. I'm not calling you out. I'm sure that's accurate. But I Mitch has agents for a reason, and they're going to handle all of this. I think if the Knicks knew that they were not going to bring Mitchell Robinson back next year, and they had already decided that, I would be pretty surprised if we would have not heard something to that effect already. Now, sign and trade, always possibility. Again, let's say the Kings want to give a big contract and they don't have the money, maybe they agree to some kind of a sign and trade. Listen, crazier things have happened, but I don't know. It's also not decided yet. They've decided not to offer him an extension as of right now, which is probably why he has the attitude that he has. Because in his mind, it's like, if they wanted me back next year, they'd pay me. The thing that Mitch may not realize, and maybe he's been told this, maybe he hasn't, is that because of the way the second apron functions, they could actually there is a tangible benefit to them not extending him right now, because if you do not extend him right now and it is his cap hold on the books, that could be a different story than if it is, that gives them just a little bit more flexibility, I guess I'll say, as opposed to if the extension is on the books, then there's no flexibility. So look, they have his bird rights. We'll see what happens. And we got our trade live. All right. Per Shams, the Knicks are trading Gershon Yabusele to the Chicago Bulls for, drumroll please, not the guy anyone wanted, Dalen Terry. So who is Dalen Terry, you might ask? Dalen Terry is a former first-round pick who was theoretically a guy who's a nice wing, who could defend a little bit and shoot a little bit. And he has done precisely nothing in his NBA career. He is a fourth-year player. He is, for all intents and purposes, out of Chicago's rotation, averaging 3.5 points per game. He's not a player of note. You could look at his three-point percentage, whatever. He's not a player of note. The important thing about Dalen Terry is, one, that he's an expiring contract, and two, more importantly than that, Dalen Terry this year makes $5.4 million. Now, here is the interesting thing. I am waiting for someone to report as to whether or not there are any picks going out in this trade. And unless I'm missing something, I mean, look, we'll hang tight. We'll sit tight. We'll see if there's reporting around picks. So they only save $100,000, but if the Bulls traded for Gershon Yabusele and they did not get any picks back, so let's again, I actually don't even want to say anything else until I know about the pick situation, because like if there's another tweet that comes out that the Knicks, traded the fucking Wizards pick to just get off the money and they didn't get a player back of note, then it's a terrible job. But if Shams tweets out in a few minutes, like the Knicks are trading, I'll pull up their future draft picks right now. The Knicks are trading hold on. So we got Fisher. The Knicks did not want Gershon Yabusele's player option for next season. Hold on. Oh my God. Jake, you should have warned me on that one. Could have fallen off my fucking chair there without warning. New York flipping him for Dalen Terry, who's looking for a fresh start out of Chicago. I think Dalen Terry is going to get about as many minutes as I'm going to get for the Knicks down the stretch. Brings back an expiring contract. Still waiting for if there's any picks here. Well, the fact that we haven't heard anything about the picks yet leads me to believe either, hold on, that there are no picks going back in the deal, which, I mean, if that's I'd be shocked if that's the case. Like if the Bulls couldn't even get, one of these lesser, because the Knicks have a bunch of seconds from other teams. They have, hold on, incoming. So they have a second this year, the least favorable of Orlando, Detroit, and Milwaukee. They have a second coming in next year from the second and third most favorable of OKC, Houston, Indiana, and Miami. They have a future second from Boston in 2028. They have a 2028 second from Indiana or Phoenix, the less favorable. They have all these bullshit second round picks, some of which are decent, some of which are not decent at all. If they got off this money and they did not have to trade a single second round pick, is it a win? You sign the guy and you're still not getting anything with the money, but the fact that you didn't have to pay a tax to unload the money with the fuck up you already made, it has to be considered the win. The interesting consideration is, so does this prevent or end the possibility that they will still get some sort of an upgrade, whether it is an Alvarado or a Misi or a Bay I mean, you can't build up the salary now for Marshall. There's just no way that they could build up the salary for Marshall unless they really, Deuce would have to go out at the very least. But maybe there's another, AO. You could build up the salary for AO if you really want, if you do a 3-for-1. But if you're going to get AO, you would have just done it in this trade. So again, the conclusion is that teams were at to take on Yabusele and trade them back a real player. They were probably asking for the Wizards pick, if not, again, what did I say earlier? Alvarado for Yabu. I predicted 4 seconds. Why did I predict 4 seconds? Because, and I'm getting this from, Fred and James's podcast that they did on Fred's Cats and Shoot. It's 2 picks to unload Yabu, and then it's another 2 picks to get the player you want to get. So my guess is what teams were asking for to give up real players in exchange for Yabusele was just over the moon, that they got rid of him for an expiring contract. I mean, that's great. You still, though, man, why the Bulls couldn't extract a single fucking pick? That's wild to me. So they could flip Terry still. They could flip Terry. They could combine other salaries. They could flip Dadier and Hukporti. I don't think they're done necessarily. And for anybody wondering, just for instance, so where the hell are you? Dadier and Hukporti. You could do Dadier and Hukporti for Alvarado if you want. You could do Dadier and Clarkson for Alvarado if you want. You could even build up some other deals. So I don't know. My big takeaway is I'm just stunned they got off Yabusele without having to attach a pick. I'm genuinely stunned. And the Bulls are, I don't know what the fuck the Bulls are doing. I don't know what they've been doing for the last 48 hours. I don't know what they're doing now. I mean, again, it's not about Yabusele. Yabusele is probably going to go there. I guarantee you he's going to look a lot better there than he did here. It's not the point. The point is the entire league was telling the Knicks, if you want to unload this contract, we know what that money means to you next year. We know how much that money is going to hurt you next year as you're trying to duck that apron. And we're going to make you pay for it. Everybody knew that. And the fact that the Bulls were like, yeah, sure, we'll take it on. You could take back this guy. It's just, even putting aside that the fact that, now we have to question, are the Knicks still going to be able to get an upgrade? It's just staggering. Staggering. I don't want to call it incompetence. That's too strong a word, but no team mismanages situations and mismanages assets like the Bulls. It's the Kings. And guess what two teams can't stop trading with each other? The Bulls and the Kings. It's not a coincidence. Anyway, all right, that's all I got. I don't know what else there is to say about it, but obviously if anybody has any questions, put them in. Okay, let's finish. Mark's ready to kill me here. It's 12:30. Sam Roth. Mitch is the most important role player in the East. My son was born on January 21st. The Knicks are still undefeated since Miles' birth. # meaningful. That's a great chat. Congratulations to you, Sam. God bless, Mazel Tov, the whole thing. I don't have any sons, but I'm appreciative of anybody who brings boys into the world. We got to continue to procreate, so it's an important thing. And that's where my mic goes. Mitch is the most important role player in the East. Most important role player in the East. Derek White's not a role player. Is Asar Thompson a role player? If Asar Thompson's a role player, he's the only other guy who I would say, in terms of what his impact could be on a series or on a title or a finals race or something, finals, push. It's got to be one of those two. It's got to be one of those two, right? I think it has to be. Yeah. Thanks, Sam. Congratulations again. Andrew with another one. Stop burning bridges. Iron Man always there. Yeah. But again, that street goes. It's a two-way street. He's always there. There would be some who would tell you that the part of the reason he's always there is because he does not again that the rebound that he did not go for, that the Nuggets got as an offensive rebound. I think it was late in the fourth quarter, and he didn't go for it full out. And I think the Nuggets got a 3 out of it. That was painful, and you might look at that and be like, well, why is he not going for the rebounds? So yeah, again, two-way street. Thanks, Andrew. Andrew with another one. Tonight, OKC would be fine. They're scared of the Spurs. I don't know about that. OKC had, I think, 8 guys on their roster tonight. And I think they were in a tough game with the Spurs. Spurs ended up pulling away, but they made it a game. Thanks, Andrew. Andrew, odd for me, wouldn't be heartbroken with Friday looming. I don't know. Andrew, sorry, you speak in code. I have a little. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I have a little trouble deciphering some of this stuff. Thanks, Andrew. Chinese Swede, what's going on? How much money to never see an OG midi again? I've look. I feel bad because clearly there is a part of him that feels that it is important to continue to take these shots. He clearly likes taking these shots. The numbers say that he should never take another mid-ranger for the rest of the season. He's making a third of his middies. He's making less than a third of his middies. He's making a third of his short mid-rangers, of his mid-rangers from floater range. Like there are players on teams that maybe are like sub 40% where it's like, all right, but you're in this offense and this. Never in this offense should that be the shot. Not in this offense. Not with the skill that's out there all the time. So I'm sorry, I love you, OG, but no. Just no. Thanks, Chinese Sweden. Gabriel Frankel, what's going on, Gabriel? Bridges is much more effective on offense when he's attacking downhill and going for mid-range jumpers, slashes, and transition opportunities. He's not at his best standing in the corner as a three-point spot shooter. He needs rhythm. Why not both? Get him involved in the ways that you're talking about, as we saw more, I think, earlier in the year. But also, it's really important for the guy who's maybe the best corner three-point shooter in basketball sometimes to go and stand in the corner and make threes. And the numbers, I'm not trying to push back against what you're saying, Gabriel, because I think it's very important for him to be involved in the offense in different ways. But if you are the best three-point shooter in basketball, and there are numbers that suggest that he is at least in that conversation, corner three-point shooter, then clearly him going and standing in the corner and shooting threes is not the worst thing in the world because he's making a lot of them. So I think it has to be a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, but maybe the balance has gotten a little bit off kilter, or at least it was tonight, to your point. Thanks, Gabriel. Appreciate the generous contribution. All right, we got a couple from Darth Dream here. Just dawned on me watching copious replays of tonight's game how awesome Yabu is on the bench, even amidst his uncertainty. Great call. Now, not lost on me is how valuable it is to be selfless in an NBA world so selfish. Another one from Darth Dream that I'll read and then comment on this. Hashtag Bumbleclad D. There we go. Gave it the old oomph. Some of the beat writers have tweeted about this in recent days, and Ian said it when I brought this up actually on the putback today, and I'll say it again. Yabu seems like an A-plus guy. Not one single report at any point in time that he was ever any kind of an issue, that he was anything but a great locker room guy. Obviously frustrated, obviously signed here thinking his role was going to be one thing and it ended up being something different. Not his fault. Look, did he come in a lot out of shape? He says no. The eye test may suggest differently. But he, he's been a good soldier. And he seemed like a great teammate. All the credit in the world for him. So yeah, there you go. Thanks, Darth Dream. Aunt Rich, what's going on? Just got back from the Garden. What a night. Awesome that you were there. Got to witness the game of the year in person. Very jealous. What is it about Shamet that every one of his shots seems so huge? Because so many of them are so huge. So many of them are so huge. I mean, I had this in the Knicks Film School newsletter. I think it was a couple days ago I had this. Let me see. Hold on. I could pull this up real quick. So I double-checked this, and this was still true after the last game. I don't know about tonight. So he has, there's only one. So Shamet over 500 minutes per 36, 3.7 threes per 36. And he was making them at a 43.5% clip. So the only other player in the league with at least 500 minutes, hitting at least 3.7 threes per 36 minutes and hitting them at least a 43.5% clip. Only other player in the entire league doing all three of those things. Again, as of a couple of days ago, Sam Merrill on the Cavs, who is a guy that is signed. I think, what did he get signed to? A 4-year, $40-some-odd million deal. Obvious sharpshooter. Like, Shamet has become one of the most dependable, reliable three-point shooters in the game. And he shoots off a movement. He doesn't need a lot of time. It's a good, quick release. Dude fights like hell on D. I mean, I just love everything about him. Thanks, Aunt Rich. Greg Film Stuff with another one. J-Mac, did you talk about Dalen Terry yet? I mean, I don't know what there is to say. Let me read the rest of your comment. I think it's a good trade getting off Yabu's contract and betting on a hungry two-way wing who's trying to compete. Also, didn't have to give up a pick. I mean, that to me is so far and away the leading story. I mean, what can we say about? So Dalen Terry, the one thing he was taken, what was he taken? 15th in the draft. 18th. Like, if you want to tell me the last 2 years he's been a decent three-point shooter, but that's what he was supposed to. Oh, you're right. He was supposed to be a 3-and-D guy. And I mean, he was kind of in their rotation last year. Played 73 games. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and make it like they got a guy that might be a piece. Easier things have happened. As my signal seems to be fading suddenly. Yeah, maybe we should get to the finish line here, Mark. Hussu, lay off the deep dish. Best of luck, Yabu. That's not nice. But yes, best of luck. OG team, saw a graphic earlier. Bulls traded Levine. Yeah, I saw this one too. Levine, DeMar, Caruso, White, Lonzo, and Vooch. And they got, I think it's one first-round pick they actually got. And it was their own first-round pick that they got in the DeRozan trade, I think, or the Levine trade. One of those. But they got their own first back. What have they been doing for the past few years? Nothing good. Oh, wait. My computer's also about to die. Great. All right. We got to finish this one up. Benny Bells checking in late. Good win. Agreed Yabu needed to go, but held himself with class. Thanks, J-Mac, for pushing through late night post games. All right. That's it. That's the last one. Just in the nick of time. My computer has 7% battery, and it usually dies at 5. Thank you, everybody, for watching another episode of the Knicks Postgame Show. 3,500 freaking people watching at 12:40 in the morning as my connection is going in and out. Love all of you. Support the show. Patreon, Substack, rate, review, subscribe, alerts, all the things. Shout out to Mark. Shout out to Mood. Shout out to Fanatics. Yeah, I think I got them all. We'll see you soon. Live tomorrow, 2 p.m. We'll talk to you soon. Peace out.
Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See the Fanatics Sportsbook app.